is your vision for VIHA?
More opportunities for the residents. As a resident commissioner, I mean, more opportunities leading towards self-sufficiency, more home ownership opportunities.
Commissioner Archibald, talk to me about your vision for VIHA.
Well, my vision for VIHA is to see that we rise above every social stigma and stereotype that's associated with public housing. You understand? So
The landscape of how public housing functions today is totally different than what it was 10 years ago. It's totally different than what it was 20 years ago.
You always say, know your business. Housing is a business. And so let's help our audience to know a little bit about the business side of the authority. When people think of VIHA, they tend to think of the service side. This is excellent. Commissioner Abiff, what do you wish residents understood better about the business of housing? Welcome to Stay in the Loop, Episode 2, the laid-back podcast where we talk about real things happening at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority. No suits, no slideshows, just conversation and stories. And maybe a few laughs about how we're building brighter, stronger communities. This month's feature, we're spotlighting our partnership with Greater Changes, a Virgin Islands behavioral health and wellness organization that provides culturally competent, community-centered mental health services to help individuals and families move toward healing, wellness, and resilience. They have also recently partnered with the Virgin Islands Housing Authority in year 2 to open a Bright Path Wellness Center in the Marley Homes and Additions community in St. Croix, offering trauma-informed, community-based services focused on strengthening health literacy, healing, and resilience. Greater Changes offers activities for families and residents, including yoga, movie nights, soca aerobics, and so much more. What makes this work especially meaningful is their commitment to trauma-informed approach, making mental health care a more accessible, welcoming, and responsive need to the community. To learn more about Greater Changes and the Bright Path Wellness Center, email them at brightpath@greaterchangesllc.com or check out their website at greaterchangesllc.com. Today's episode is going to be so great. It's Voices in Leadership. We're talking with our leadership team. We're talking about the vision and the work happening behind the scenes at VIHA. Our guest, Mr. Ashley Archibald, Board of Commissioners Vice Chair, Simba Abiff, our Board of Commissioners Chairperson, and also Dwayne Alexander, the Executive Director of the Virgin Islands Housing Authority and the Board's Commissioners Secretary. Before we dive in, let's keep it a little bit light so that the people can know the people. We're going to start with you, Commissioner Abiff. What's one thing about the Virgin Islands culture that makes us special?
Manners. That my father said, manners take you around the world.
Manners take you around the world. Fact. Commissioner Archibald, what is your go-to beach or lime spot when you need to take a break?
I ain't gonna lie, Rainbow Beach. I born and raised on that beach. We used to go there every Sunday, so I really like that beach. And sometimes I go there just to zone out and just relax by myself.
If no one knows, Frederiksted has the best sunsets in the whole world. So I understand why you chose there. Edie Alexander, if you had a family visiting from off island, where's the first place you're going to take them?
The Water Island.
Yonsong Island.
Yes.
Why?
I just like Water Island for some strange. I've been to all the beaches, but I've been over to St. John, been to St. Croix. I just like Water Island. Short, easy to get to, and it's peaceful over there. Yes.
Note to myself, Water Island is a visit.
Yes.
All right, guys. So all of you have been connected to the Virgin Islands Housing Authority in different ways over the years. Let's go back. What did VIHA look like 10 years ago from your perspective? We'll start with Edie Alexander and then we'll work our way around.
Thank you for that question, Ms. Emmanuella. And it's a very good question because I was here at the Housing Authority many years ago, back in 2007, when HUD was here. I actually got hired by HUD, uh, Mr. David Reeves, who was the receiver for HUD. He was responsible for putting leadership in play to get the Housing Authority out of receivership. And it was me, a young guy named Patrick Moss, who was over in St. Croix, and Robert Graham as our executive director. At that time, I was the deputy executive director and the chief of staff. So at that time, we was working on changing many of the things that needed to be changed to get the Housing Authority out of receivership, like the building conditions, putting systems in place, putting policies in place. We changed the logo at that time because the logo was more like a H with a housing structure, and the logo that you see today is what we put into play back at that time. So we did the footwork to get the agency out of receivership during that time. And one of our newest developments at that time that we started with was Louis Brown. But prior to that, we was going around in the communities, doing work at many of the communities, giving them upgrades.
Wow, that's something. Talk to me a little bit, Mr. Commissioner Abiff. What did VIHA look like 10 years ago?
Well, 10 years ago, I didn't know any of the management. I didn't know who the executive director was. I didn't know any of the board commissioners. I would say that from a resident perspective, Senator Marvin Blyden, who's senator now, who was a manager at the time, was our manager, and he was very supportive of the resident community. He had got me a job, believe it or not, doing some roofing in the community with one of the private contractors. So that was my outlook of it at that time.
10 years ago. We've come a long way since you've been working on a job on the roofing now, Commissioner. Yes. Mr. Archibald, tell me, what was VIHA 10 years ago to you?
10 years ago, from a resident perspective, I could say that it was a lot of abandoned vehicles, abandoned buildings, units. As to now, I see the occupancy rate is up in the 90s, which is a good thing, you know. So
that's the part that we want our audience to understand, right? We're on the move over here at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority, and so we're going to look at where we were. Not even as a commissioner yet. There was things being done, and there was no level of relationship between communication. We were in receivership. We were making sure that the door stayed open and that we were in federal regulation. And our occupancy rate was at a lower rate because our properties weren't as beautiful as they are today. And so it's good for our audience to understand where we were so that they understand where we're going. So let's talk a little bit about the present. For those of you who may know, tell us about your role right now and what it entails, because I'm not sure, similar to you 10 years ago, that our audience knows, what does a commissioner do?
Well, the commissioner provides oversight for the management practices of the Housing Authority. So that's financial oversight, that's policy oversight, that's making sure that we're in line with the bylaws, making sure that we're in line with the HUD regulations, and providing policy or reviewing policy that shows leadership with the authority going forward to achieve our mission, which is to provide safe, sanitary, and decent housing for residents of the Virgin Islands.
And Commissioner Ashley, we talk about what a commissioner does, but what does a resident commissioner does? Because that's a separate role and a very, for my heart, a very special role.
Right. So, well, with a resident commissioner, we be the voice of the residents in our community, because they're not exactly in the board meetings and what's not like that, you know. So we have to be that voice and speak on their behalf.
Yep, that's very true. Resident commissioners speak on behalf of all the residents in the district. We've got one in each territory. And Edie Alexander, tell us, you hold two roles with the authority. Sometimes you're executive director, sometimes you're the commissioner, secretary of the board.
Yes.
Talk to us about your two roles.
Thank you, Ms. Emmanuella. In the capacity of the secretary, I just support whatever the board needs in terms of facilitating the meetings and facilitating any resolutions that we bring to the board, help processing policy and providing insight into governance that they provide over the agency. So I'm just basically the secretary. On the flip side of that, I report to the board because as the executive director, I'm in charge of the day-to-day operations. We have a total of 170 employees. We have various different departments, and my responsibility is to make sure that we, as an organization, provide all good deeds and services to the residents of the Virgin Islands.
There's a lot of roles at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority and a lot of position, and leadership matters. So I want to say on behalf of the team at VIHA, thank you. Thank you for all that you do every day in keeping our doors open and leading this ship toward the greatest way we can ever be, high performance.
Yes.
Tell me about your leadership style, but don't tell it to me in words. What is the theme song that would be playing to describe your leadership style?
Midnight Band, same boat we.
Say it again.
Midnight Band, same boat we.
Same boat we. Okay, Midnight Band. That sounds like an Irie tune. I know Midnight. They're very Irie. Mr. Abiff, what song's playing?
My song would be Tomorrow's People by Ziggy Marley.
Oh, we have the Iriest bunch of commissioners out here. I love reggae, but that is true Caribbean, right? So thank you. Mr. Alexander, what's the theme song that represents your leadership?
So I would say is the theme song for the movie Rocky, which the original one came out in 1976. It was filmed in 1975. And that whole movie is about inspiration, motivation, and leadership. So from that, anytime I hear any of that music as it pertains to that movie, it puts me in a frame of mind of someone who was an underdog that actually went out to fight. And even though he lost the fight, he had won the hearts of so many people because he actually lost, but he won. So it's a gain even in the aspect of you losing and then benefiting from it.
Dun, 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 something like that. Is that
Yeah.
the theme? Yeah. I watch Rocky too. Good.
Yes.
My song changes from time to time, but if anybody knows me, they know that I am always talking that Conqueror Hulk stuff. And so for today, my theme song would be Hulk by Blacks. It's a really good soca song and I conquer and everything. So that's where I would go for my leadership song today. Let's look ahead to the future. What is your vision for VIHA?
More opportunities for the residents. As a resident commissioner, I mean, more opportunities leading towards self-sufficiency, more home ownership opportunities, more opportunities to, become full citizens of the Virgin Islands, more opportunities in the workforce. That's about it at this time.
That is absolutely in line with the national direction right now. So I am pretty sure it's coming to fruition. Commissioner Archibald, talk to me about your vision for VIHA.
Well, my vision for VIHA is to see that we rise above every social stigma and stereotype that's associated with public housing. You understand? So yeah, that's where I would see it, and to see more of our residents in our community transition to home ownership.
Yeah. Mr. Alexander, does this vision align with yours?
Yes, quite a bit. The landscape of how public housing functions today is totally different than what it was 10 years ago. It's totally different than what it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, RAD did not exist, which is a rental assisted demonstration program. And what I want to do for the Housing Authority, yes, we are working on building new developments and rehab, doing gut rehab, because we're on a 10-year plan to reposition our whole entire portfolio. But what I really want to do is put the Housing Authority in position to be a unique, strong, powerful real estate organization, because that's what we do. Most folks don't realize, even though we are called the Housing Authority, all we basically do is manage properties. We just manage properties. Either we're managing public housing or we're providing subsidy or HAP payments to landlords. But either way, we coordinate in all of that. So I think in the future, the housing authorities that survive in the future are the ones who function more like a real estate organization.
This is a perfect segue, Edie Alexander, for us to talk about the business. When I came in underneath your leadership, You always say, know your business. Housing is a business. And so let's help our audience to know a little bit about the business side of the authority. When people think of VIHA, they tend to think of the service side, affordable housing. Can you help us to better understand what is the business side of housing and what that really looks like?
So here's what happens. 100% of our funding comes from the federal government, period. It comes from the federal government. Well, when I talk about business, we need to make sure that we are in compliance with all of the HUD regulations and all of the HUD rules so that we can continuously bring that money in. HUD is going underneath a change right now because if you go out and you Google it and look at where the housing authorities was at years ago, a couple of years ago, they had about 2.1 million units. And now you have about 1.7 million units, 1.7. So they're dropping. Part of that is they are shifting from public housing to Section 8. So you have to look at it from a business perspective. Do I give you a building and give you $50 million to build a building to house 50 people? Or do I just give those 50 people a voucher and I don't have to worry about a building, maintenance staff, or anything like that? So what happens, things are changing and we are trying to push ourselves in the forefront of being more like thinking like a real estate organization instead of a typical housing authority that's receiving money from the federal government. Because as you hear some of these talks that go on with the existing administration is that they want to wean people out of public housing and put them in more self-sufficiency program. And we want to coach, inspire, and motivate residents to take advantage of all these self-sufficiency programs and then move forward with their life so we give other people other opportunities.
I agree with you, Mr. Alexander, that the business is very important in understanding.
Yes.
And that with the national shifts happening, we've got to be very conscious of how we're operating our authority because
Yes.
it might be economically different to just give a voucher. We see them having this conversation around education and other areas that used to be more give it to the government and it'll spread out. Now they're looking at give it to the people and see where it goes. But that goes more within a private direction, right?
Yes. So if you've seen, we had a little dose of it this past year when they shut the government down. When they shut the government down, nobody was receiving any subsidy anywhere. Fortunately for us, we had reserves that we could actually function for 4 to 5 months without receiving any subsidy. And what happens, some of the other housing authorities that exist in the United States, some of them could exist for 5 or 6 months. HUD requires you to have at least 4 months reserve. And then you have some housing authorities that couldn't make it through the month. And because of that, you know, some folks had some massive layoffs just to try to balance the budget. But the housing authorities that's been creative over the years, nothing stops the housing authorities from involving themselves in other businesses using non-federal funds. I want to quote that again, non-federal funds, because we generate money coming through the COCC, and then you can take that money from the COCC and then you can do other things like, well, if we had a store that we generated money from, we hired residents to work the store, or we had folks in the Section 3 program that we could teach them to start their own business to be able to replace some of the contractors that we're using, that they can be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So we had a Section 3, I had a full Section 3 resident service, a landscaping team that came out there that got the contracts more so than these other vendors that have been out there for years, which employed all our residents. So it's some upward mobility there by them getting involved in these programs.
This is excellent. Commissioner Abiff, what do you wish residents understood better about the business of housing?
That housing costs money. Housing is an expensive business. Also, housing is the pillar of society. Housing is a pillar of our middle-class society along with education and retirement. So, you know, everything starts and ends with housing.
That's true. That's the cornerstone of being able to live. You know, when you have a roof over your head, then the possibilities of everything else seems, you know, doable. Yes, yes. What about you, Commissioner Archibald? What do you wish that the residents understood better about the business of housing?
I wish that they understand how VIHA staff puts a lot of effort into change orders, fiscal budgets, everything to improve the quality of life for our residents.
Sometimes I wish that more of them understood that too, because I think sometimes they look at it from just one perspective, and people tend to think they're not doing anything for us. Nobody cares. But there's 100 and how many people, sir?
170 employees.
170 people working diligently 365 days a year to ensure that roofs stay over heads, that communities are safe and sanitary. So I too, Commissioner Archibald, wish that people understood the work that's being done more, because I think they would value it more. Yes. Edie Alexander, we're going to talk a little bit about you as the Secretary of the Board.
Yes.
How does this role guide your work as the ED of the authority?
So it actually puts me in a position to be able to get the work to the commissioners, because we work as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm the secretary, we still work as a unit. Me, along with the board chair and the vice chair and the rest of the board. So even making preparations for our monthly board meeting, I make sure that all the information for full transparency is in our packages so that the board is fully aware of what is going on with the agency for that specific month. And then we keep some of these numbers on rolling, because what I never want to do is for the board to find out something that I didn't put them in a position to know in advance. So I'm about full transparency. Everything that I know, I try to make sure that my board is fully aware of it. And on a monthly basis, for every single department, every single update that we have for every department is getting that information to them. Because as long as they have that information, they can provide a better governance and provide me with the direction and the leadership and approve the policies to help move the agency forward.
This is good stuff. This is good stuff. There's a lot of work being done and a lot of roles. And, this is why we're having this conversation today, because it's truly important that everyone understand that leadership does matter, and that we as leaders work very closely together to make things happen, no matter what position we're holding. Let's get a little bit into being a commissioner, a resident commissioner. I, for the first time, have ever heard of our residence commissioners actually being the chair and the vice chair of the board. Like this is historical. And I think it's so powerful watching and being a part to be able to sit back and watch this happen. It's been truly one of my greatest pleasures working here at VIHA. But Commissioner Abiff and Commissioner Archibald, what part of serving on the board felt the most intimidating at first? And then how has that changed over time for you? It's been an honor watching it, but tell me, how has it felt? Let's start with you, Commissioner Archibald.
Well, I ain't gonna lie, for me, it was understanding VIHA language at first and being able to articulate, you understand? So as time progressed, I really get a passion for Senate hearings. I get to understand each lawmaker's stance on a bill or a resolution, so I get to understand it more. And one thing, I ain't gonna lie, shout out to Dr. Michaels, one thing she always pushed me to do was read. You understand? Read. So that helped me a lot.
Dr. Noreen Michaels is another one of our commissioners. As a matter of fact, people would call her high-ranking commissioner because she's been with us for so long. Right. Talk to me, Commissioner Abiff. What was the first part for you that felt intimidating? And then how have you come along, and how has things changed?
Well, it's figuring out how best to represent your residents. You go in there and you don't want to let down the people that you're representing, and they hold you in high esteem, and they vote you into this position. So you want to find the best way to be, have an impact for them. Listening to their daily concerns, understanding the concerns of VIHA, understanding the business of housing, and finding a way to balance the two. It can't always get done when you want it to get done, but it will get done. We could get to it,
Yes. And thank you for highlighting the fact that these are elected positions, because I'm not sure that everyone knows that you are elected by your entire district. And we are in the moment right now of beginning our next resident commissioner election. And so if you think you've got the skills to be able to represent your community and learn something new, please contact Mr. Ajani Brown at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority. Can each of you share how you gather feedback from your residents and bring those voices to the board?
First of all, I live in the community, so I get feedback. Our residents approach me with concerns from first thing down to last thing night. You know, whether they have an emergency situation, whether they have a conflict going on with their neighbor, whether they have a service that needs to be done that hasn't been addressed from the management staff. So you know that's it's ongoing. It's a 24-hour thing. It's a 24-hour job. So that's where the feedback comes from, and then you analyze it as part of as being a commissioner. Part of your duty or your responsibility is to go from neighborhood to neighborhood and view the structure. You know, see how people are living, the conditions in which people are living. You know, most times people recognize you and say, "Hey, you in on the board or you in that thing for housing?" I'd be like, "Yeah." Well, this and this and this and this and this, that and that and that and that. And then you go from there. You know, you reach out with the management and you go from there.
I love that. I think that that's one of the best parts of what you guys do. You know, you're sitting and living in the same circumstance, but you also have a viewpoint of the business aspect. So you can always inform from a perspective of being informed, not just talking off the top of your head. Talk to me, in the St. Croix District, Commissioner Archibald, how do you gather feedback from your residents?
Like Commissioner Abiff said, you know, people come to you with their concerns, their complaints. Resident councils are very good because we get to hear the feedback from the residents and what's not. So, yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Alexander, why is resident feedback so important to the work that we do?
That's a very easy question for me, and thank you for that. The residents knows exactly what goes on. Most people that work in the housing authorities is for 8 hours. Residents are there for 24 hours. So I'm inclined to find out what's going on from the residents more so than I do the employees at times. And part of the time, it's one part of the reason why I have an open door policy.
Yeah.
Because I find out exactly what goes on 24/7 because the residents that come and inform you. So if they have a little leak there, not that the maintenance people do it, but they go to work and then they go home. These folks are subjected to this issue all night long and all weekend long. So they are more in time. So anybody that I run across, I give them my cell phone number. Anybody that want to come across the office, I take time out to meet them, because your job would be a lot easier if you find out exactly what's going on. They save you from doing some of the inspections that you would normally have to do because they have their finger on the pulse because they live there.
Fact. And sometimes they even save us some money, because I've received calls,
Yes.
y'all forgot to turn off the light in the office, right? And it's Saturday,
Yes.
so or something is on fire.
Yes.
So they help us in so many ways. So thank you to the residents of the Virgin Islands Housing Authority, because without you, many of fires may have burnt down buildings rather than us not being aware right at time, in real time. Edie Alexander, we're going into the future just a little more.
Yes.
You have a plan for the authority
Yes.
that talks about recovery. Let's dive into that recovery game and what execution looks like in real time.
Again, thank you for that question. So we have two things working on simultaneously: a reposition plan, which is repositioning our portfolio, which we're actually working on now. We have some great employees with some legacy there. Just to name a few, our CFO, Miss Cecile Tung Foy, has been there for a very long time. She's a chief financial officer. We has been each year having flawless audits underneath her leadership. Then you have Mr. Kayla Anthony, who is the director of HCV program, who's been a high performer years ago, and just recently in 2024, she received 140 out of 140 points. And then we just submitted the CMAP information just this past February, which was last month. And then we received this week that she's a high performer again at 138 points. So they're doing extremely good. So when you look at Housing Authority, you have really 4 departments, but the 2 largest funding streams is public housing Section 8. Everybody works for public housing Section 8 because that's where the funding streams come in at. And then you receive grant money underneath resident services. Then you have construction, which we have Miss Powell. Now, Miss Anthony's been here for 31 years. Miss Cecile been here for over 20 years, and Miss Powell been here for 31 years. Typically, when you have folks that when you come in, you have to get acclimated to the positions because you need the skill set to match your skill set so you can accomplish whatever you need to accomplish. They have some legacy of understanding how things work, how to get things done. They just can't do it all by themselves.
Right.
Ms. Pell, who is a licensed architect, is very good at what she does. Very good at what she does. From that, typically in some housing authorities, you don't have architects in the position that she formerly was in. You're blessed with that. But she knows the housing authority, knows how to operate some of these forms that she fills out with all these different entities. Nobody else in the territory could have filled them out. She just worked her way through it. So you have her, Ms. Cecile, and the chief operating and chief financial officer, and the HCV program. I'm 80% there.
You've got a boom squad
Because you don't
behind
have to
you.
recruit for you. But our biggest program is public housing.
Yes.
Because our annual budget, by no means, I want people to think that we run a small business. Our business is a $60 million a year business. Our overall budget is $60 million. So it's not a small mom and pop. You take our HCV program is $16 million. And each month, our HCV program puts back in half payment $1.3 million and payments to go to landlords. So we pay landlords anywhere between 1.2 to 1.3, and I'm saying 1.3 because we just had a meeting and I just went through the numbers. 1.3 landlords receive that type of money. Our largest department, which is our largest source of income, is public housing. Underneath our public housing program, we're currently in trouble status. But this recovery plan that we have for 24 months, we already in motion. We started last year. We already in motion, putting out IDIQs, working with contractors, getting staff trained with knowledge so that they can go back and be able to address some of the issues and conditions that we have at our sites so that we can get a higher score and are inspired so we can move forward. Already just last year, we went from an average of 58 points to 70. So we increased those scores. So we are on a path. What we don't want to do, we want to be similar to Section 8, our HCV program, and our modernization program, and our finance department. We don't want to be straddled on a fence where we get a 58 and then we get a 62, and then we are out of trouble status, and then somebody get sick or somebody's out or we lose a person, then we right back to the same situation again. We want to be in a situation where we stand past that, where we put ourselves, because if you get a high score in the 80s, you get an inspection every 2 years. If you get a 70, they expect you every year. If you get in the 90s, they come every 3 years. So if you imagine getting in the 90s, you fix a place up where they don't have to come for 3 years. Do you know what you can do and build and fix up over in 3 years before they come back? So we have to get out of this situation, which we are on the road to recovery, so that we are not fixing up to get by, and then every year before we get a break, here comes another inspection.
Here's another inspection.
So we want to put some distance behind us, a distance between us. But our recovery plan is in full motion. We give quarterly reports to our field office, which is in Puerto Rico. We give out another report at the end of this month. It's all about coaching, motivating, inspiring staff. We have some very tough challenges. We are no different than any other business. We have our challenges, but we are working together and we are moving forward for the sake of addressing all of our issues and trying to provide a safe, sanitary, and decent living circumstances for the residents of the Virgin Islands.
Yes, and what's important is that your recovery plan also includes the residents of the Virgin Islands.
Yes.
And that's why stay in the loop is so important. And that's why we keep telling you, stay in the loop, not looped out, because you're going to be able to come on this journey with us, but your input matters, your engagement matters, and your voice matters to the Virgin Islands Housing Authority and the work that we're doing.
Yes. So one of the key things is this I want to put out to the audience is that we all have a passion for this.
That's right.
And we have a commitment to this. And part of this whole process of staying in the loop is because we're out in the front. We don't want to be some housing authority in the back. We don't know what we're doing. We want to be transparent. We want to make sure that we out on YouTube, we out on Facebook. We want you to be able to have access to us so that if you have any issues, circumstances, conditions, or problems, you can bring it to us so that we can address it, because we're not hiding in the background with anything. We want to be right there to assist and a part of the community to help out. And I always say this, when we talk about community, it's community. Community. Seeing the word unity. You understand what I'm saying? People talk about community all the time. It's community. And we have to be together and we have to work together. The word unity, as word as the word come, isn't it? Community. You have to work together. Come together. Unity means together. Come together. You cannot ever have a community if you don't come together.
Fact. Commissioners, Edie Alexander, this is just a 1 hour podcast. We are not here to live. And so we're getting ready to get into the last phase of the work that we're doing here today and conversing. But what is the message? What is your message, Commissioner Abiff, to our residents as a takeaway today?
To follow up on what Edie Alexander is saying, come out and get involved. One person you can move fast, but as a group you could go farther. So come out and get involved. Come out and get involved with your resident councils. Run for office, if not support those who run for office, and support your resident commissioners.
Yes, yes. I like that message.
Yeah.
We are on the roll. Talk to me, Commissioner.
I want all our residents to understand that their voice matters, and they heard during this podcast that where we was, where we at, and where we going. You understand? So yeah.
Yes, we want the buy-in. We want the buy-in. Remember, at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority, we're all about empowering our residents and building brighter futures together. So thanks for tuning in to Stay in the Loop. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep walking the bright path. And remember, come unity. That is who we are in the Virgin Islands, and that is what we're asking you to be a part of our community.
That's correct.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Abiff. Thank you so much, Commissioner Ashley. And Edie Alexander, it is an honor serving with you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your vision for VIHA?
More opportunities for the residents. As a resident commissioner, more opportunities leading towards self-sufficiency, more home ownership opportunities.
Commissioner Archibald, talk to me about your vision for VIHA.
Well, my vision for VIHA is to see that we rise above every social stigma and stereotype that's associated with public housing. You understand? So
The landscape of how public housing functions today is totally different than what it was 10 years ago. It's totally different than what it was 20 years ago.
You always say, know your business. Housing is a business. And so let's help our audience to know a little bit about the business side of the authority. When people think of VIHA, they tend to think of the service side. This is excellent. Commissioner Abiff, what do you wish residents understood better about the business of housing?